let's get into today's topic. Today's topic, building a non-leverage business. The key question we want to explore today is how many clients do you really need in order to build your practice to the size you want it to be? So how many clients does it take for you to fill your capacity? And we'll also be looking at how many gigs do you need in order to generate the amount of income that you really want. Now, hopefully you already know how much money you're trying to make this year. We covered that in an earlier lesson. But the question about how you can go about making that money, I think you'll find pretty interesting today. By the way, I just got typed a little note from Mission Control reminding everyone that next week we begin the ChangeWorks Essentials course for everyone. If you are a member of the ChangeWorks community, you are more than welcome to enroll in that program. Right now, it is free of charge, usually $14.95, but we changed things around a little bit, and so you're all welcome to go through that training free of charge. So for those registration links, just watch the blog posting. You'll see that later on tomorrow or so. Or you can actually, let's go back to the website for a second. You can also get to it. Let me just scroll down here a little bit. This is going to be under professional. No, let's go down. I'll make it the easy way. Go to Student Resource Center. Under Student Resource Center, you see a link for the ChangeWorks Essentials resources. If you click on that page, it's probably going to ask you to put in your password. Well, right now the password is ChangeWorks, and it's all lowercase, so just spell out ChangeWorks and you just type that in. And then, oops, sorry, I must have typed it wrong. What did I do? Just a second. Okay, ChangeWorks. Okay, so let's see. Okay, yeah, no, it's happy. So if you go here, you're going to find the links for downloading the workbook and the handouts, the course materials. And so please make sure if you're going to be participating in the program that you do take some time in the next few days to print out that workbook and to produce those little extra handouts. You'll also see the registration links for each of the sessions. It is 8 sessions long. You do need to register separately for each one of those sessions. We've tried to find a way to make it with a single registration, but because of the way it's done, 2 on a day, 2 different days for a week, it just confuses the daylights out of any automatic registration system. So here it is. It's the way that it is. So if you'll please make sure that you click and register for each one of those sessions, that would be great. If February doesn't fit into your schedule, we're going to be doing it again come March. So look at your calendars and go ahead and click on these links as well. Again, this is something that we include as part of the ChangeWorks community. So you're all certainly welcome to attend that program. Okay, so with that, now we'll get back to today's program. Going to close that good and for all. All right, so how many clients do you need? All right, so let's take a look at this. First, let's take a look at the definition of the word leverage. When this word first started getting bounced around years ago, the traditional definition was about how you leverage other people's stuff. So how do you leverage other people's time, other people's money, other people's talents, other people's connections? And that certainly is a fine definition of leverage. And certainly if you guys want to build the most leveraged business you can, you do want to take any opportunity that presents itself for you to leverage other people's time, money, talents, or connections. And obviously lots of ways to get into that, and that's fine. But today I want to focus on our definition of leverage, which is about using your assets in order to build the business that you want. Your time, your money, your talents, your connections. Part of the reason why we want to make sure that you focus on your own assets is because we've watched human development professionals start off trying to leverage everybody else, and they weren't successful in their attempts to use other people's time to their advantage or other people's money to their advantage, etc. And as a result, they ended up struggling very much, and most of them today are no longer in private practice. So I think that while it's great for you to leverage other people's stuff when the opportunity presents itself, it's vitally important that you know how to use your own assets as thoroughly as you can to, again, create the kind of business that you all want most. So that's what we're talking about. It's all about you. Now, there are 3 types of business you can have. And this is the first question I'm going to ask all of you to weigh in on. And so everyone, please get ready to type me an answer there in the GoToWebinar questions control panel. You see in your GoToWebinar controls, there's a question. I'm going to ask you guys to type your answer to this question there. So there are 3 kinds of business. The question is going to be, which one are you leaning on, or what's your mix look like? The first kind of business you could have is single shot business. Single shot business means that you go into a client situation, you present the service. When you're finished presenting the service, you're done, you go on, life moves on for everyone involved. So, this is not something that you are going to repurpose for another client. This is not something that you're going to use for expansion within that particular client. It's just, hey, here's an opportunity. Do you want to do this? You agree to do it, you got your money, and you're done. That's single shot business. Now, single shot business also applies if every time you do something for a client, you're doing something different. So even if you are um, um, working with the same client on multiple issues, if every single thing you do to them is uniquely done just for them, again, it's not something you've done for other clients, it's not something you can do for other clients, it is what it is, it's a total standalone thing, you can kind of consider that standalone or single shot business as well. You just have a long series of single shot opportunities. So rather than being a single shot pistol, maybe you're a Gatling gun, but nevertheless, every little bullet that you're firing is a single shot, and when it's shot, it's done. Now, repeat business is the next level up. In repeat business, you create a program, a product, a service, and you are able to use that exact same program, product, or service over and over and over again. So it's not so much that you're getting more business with the same client as much as you're getting more clients with the same product offering or the same service offering. Now, so repeat business is getting a lot of business from another client, but it has to be the same program. So, for example, all of you by this stage know that my background was heavily in sales training in the early years. Well, I was looking for clients who would have a need for my exact same sales training program every month or every quarter, or at least a couple of times a year. And if they did that, I thought, okay, great, I've got some repeat business opportunity going on. But I also like to apply the concept of repeat business to the leveraging of the product itself. So I created that sales training program not for that one client, but as more of a generic program I could present to virtually any client. And yes, there may need to be a little bit of customization being done, but we charge for that. So that's a good thing too. But fundamentally, the program is identical every time it's presented, even though it's presented in front of different clients. So you can consider both of those things to fall more into the repeat business category. So whether you get a client once and do multiple work with them, or you create a product once and do it with multiple clients, at least there's something that's repeating. Let's see, getting a comment here. Yeah, could be same offering to new clients. It could be a different offering to the same clients. At least there's something that is repeating. The relationship is repeating or the product is repeating. And I think I'm being generous when I allow you guys to broaden the definition of repeat business. Again, if though every time you do that work with that client, it really is something different, I think I would still lean more towards single shot business. Yeah. So anyway, the third possibility is residual business. Residual business is when you sell something one time and deliver a service or deliver on the product, and then you keep on receiving money even though you no longer provide that service. So the best example I can give you of residual business is a licensing opportunity. So many of you on the call today are involved in the training side of the industry. And so, if you create a training program and you get that program polished up enough, there's a lot of people out there in our industry that I lovingly describe as being talent heavy and content light. And so they're looking for programs. They're happy to get certified in another course or whatever that they think they'll do. And so, in how those arrangements normally work is that the person pays to get their training taken care of, so they pay to get certified, and then they also acquire a license of some sort or another in order to allow them to present that program. So if you are the one who has created that program and certified those people, welcome to residual business. They continue to pay you licensing fees, even though the need for you to provide a direct service, diminishes slowly but surely to the point that they really are very self-governing. And then, it's kind of surprising when you hear them. We've been certifying people for a long time now, and there's some people that we talk to only once in a blue moon. And every time we talk to them, it's kind of like, oh, wow, no time to talk to. I mean, they're out there. They've learned what they need to learn. They've got the support that they're looking for. And so when they need something, they give us a call. But that's what we're talking about on the residual business side of things. You can also consider residual business to be what you get if you're publishing books or something like that. You know, if you're, let's say you're a coach and you've written a wonderful book about how people can achieve what they really want most in their life, and you get that book out there in the bookstores, well, it could continue to pay you royalties for as long as your topic remains popular. Um, I'm not completely convinced that that qualifies in the strictest of definition of residual, because I suspect you've got to continue to be doing work in order to keep that money coming in. So there's marketing that has to be done, or you need to be talking to the booksellers or whatever, you know, something to continue to place positive focus on whatever your title may be. So I think if I really wanted to be strict, that's probably not so much residual. Nevertheless, these are the three major categories of the business. So right now, would you guys say that you are doing more single shot business, repeat business, or residual business? Where is your money coming from? And I'm seeing a lot of repeat business. I see 80%. John's saying 80% of his business is repeat. Christine, repeat. Yep, yep. Oh, a little bit of residual. Good, good, good. Yeah, okay. Here's another way that residual may work. Some of the tools that human development professionals get certified in offer them an opportunity to get an affiliate form of compensation if they spread the news to other people. And even some of them, I think, become almost like a multi-level marketing kind of thing. And so that could also be residual if by spreading the news, you continue to earn a certain referral fee from that person. You know, you could kind of consider that residual as well. I know that some of you are working with other colleagues and you point that colleague to one of your existing clients, and you of course say that you'll do that, but you want a certain cut of the business. And if you say, and if you get any further business with them, I still expect to receive my little cut of that. That's also would fall in that category of residual business as well. So, but most of you, by the looks of things, are focusing on repeat business, and that's a really wonderful thing. Now, when we did our study in 2010, we asked this question of people, and it was very interesting that the younger they were, and that's in air quotes for those of you who can't actually see me, but the younger people in our industry did a lot more single shot business, and then as they matured in their practice, they did less and less single shot stuff and more repeat business, and ultimately some of them actually created, as I said, you know, wrote the book or created the training program or formalized their coaching methodology to the point that they could go out there and certify others and end up getting that residual business happening as well. So I don't think it's all that surprising that people in the early stages do a lot of single shot business. I think I've shared with you before that when I first started, I was very young. I started this company when I was 25 years old. And back when I was 25 years old, you know, I had a few roadblocks to overcome. Perhaps the biggest one was that I was based in Ann Arbor, Michigan, home of the University of Michigan, where every off-duty professor fancies themselves as a consultant. And so I was up against everyone with PhDs and a whole lot of other alphabet soup after their names. And I wasn't the right age. I was too young for doing what I was doing, and you know, so there was just a lot of things going against me. But my attitude was that I would do basically anything necessary in order to get this business going. And so the little joke I said to a client, if they ever asked me if I did a particular program, I said, if you give me a topic in 2 weeks, I can come up with a program. And so obviously there were a lot of programs early on, and over the course of these years, we've just whittled it down and whittled it down to probably a top 10 or 12. And even of those, there's only 3 or 4 that we really continue to have any passion around. We'll talk about that as our exploration of building a career that matters continues. Okay, so let's take another look. So the question becomes, how many clients do you need for 100 billable hours? Now, 100 billable hours would be the amount that I would say you'd want to have if you were trying to like get 100 billable hours a month. 100 billable hours a month is a lot of hours. So that's relying on 25 hours per week. That's 3 full days every single week of nonstop billing. And so that really is quite the benchmark. If you're hitting 100 hours of billable services every single month, you are up there performing with, well, how about the best? Maybe not the best of the best, but you're definitely up there in a strong place. Well, consultants could do that with a single client. Um, a lot of the consultants get pulled into some pretty intense projects that are occupying 40 hours a week every week for week after week, month after month. And so they may not need more than one client to do that. Of course, there's a dark side when that client's gig is over and done with. That consultant is now fundamentally unemployed. So, because if they were billing 40 hours a week, when do they have time to actually build their business or even find whoever that next client may be? But it is certainly possible for a consultant to meet that objective with a single client. Now, if you're a trainer, well, if you had four clients who were each using you 3 days a week, 1 week each month, then you've got your 100 billable hours right there. But it could take a lot more than that, obviously. Coaches, well, usually the coaches are going to have weekly sessions, bi-weekly sessions with people, and so if they can get themselves 25 or 50 clients, and again, talk to each one of them once a week or twice a week, whatever. Sorry, pardon me. Every week or every other week, this is how the math would actually work out. And then speakers to get that, a speaker gets in front of an audience, they're usually only there for an hour or two. So for them to get that 100 hours, they're probably going to need 50 to 100 distinct clients to really make that happen. Now, usually the speakers don't aspire to have 100 hours because they'd be running themselves ragged. They're traveling to and from whatever that gig may be. And so there's all kinds of time being consumed with all that travel and prep and that goes along with it. So realistically, for them to make their financial objectives, they don't require 100 billable hours in a particular month. Who knows, they might actually be able to do it in, say, 4 billable hours if they're just doing an hour-long keynote and doing it for $5,000. Forget $5,000, for $2,500. Then they could certainly still meet whatever that objective may be. And I'll show you about the dollars in just a second as well. So right now, I don't know. There's a mix of everybody on here, but are you guys even close to having the number of hours you need to bill every single month? And so you don't have to choose 100. I just chose that as what I consider to be a solid business where people are devoting perhaps 3 full days of their week into income generating activities, or rather into providing services. So you tell me. It doesn't have to be 100, but whatever that number is, you have to know it so you can figure out how you need to leverage everything you've got going for you to fill that schedule. Okay, so all right, let's go into the next little thing now. So, how many clients do you need then to make $100,000? And again, I just pulled 100,000. You guys might have your financial objectives set much higher than that. I hope you don't have them set much lower than that, because this, I think, is a pretty healthy kind of a target for any independent human development professional to set before themselves. Again, you make your own decision because it's going to be different depending on where you are in the evolution of your business, or as we say in our study, are you in the spring, summer, fall, or winter of your company's lifespan? And if the fact is that you've been doing it for a long time and you're winding down, maybe you don't care about making 100 grand. Maybe you really want to spend 3 days a week out on the golf course, but you like to keep your hand in the business, not just for the income, but because it keeps you vital and vibrant and engaged and, intellectually stimulated and all those sorts of things. So all of us are blessed that we have a career that we can continue to do for as long as we want. And whether that's full-time work, part-time work, or occasional, it doesn't matter. So I'm not saying you should choose this as a standard. I'm saying, though, that certainly if you are in the spring or the summer of your business's evolution, this would be a solid mark to go after. So what do you need to do to make that $100,000 a year? Now, I base this on giving yourself a couple of weeks of vacation just to make the math easy. But if you're a coach and you did 10 individual coaching sessions per week at $200 for that session, you've just made $100,000 a year. Yeah, you got to have those 10 sessions every single week. And yes, you've got to be billing out at $200, but that's the way the math would work. You could do 4 group coaching sessions per week at $500. Now, you're just charging overall $500 for that group session to occur. But if you had 4 of those happening every week, you've just made your money. You could have 28 active group coaching members at $295. So rather than charging the client $500 for the group coaching session and saying to them, you can put as many people as you want into that for 500. Some of the coaches say, no, 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 no. I'd rather just charge each person who wants to be in my group coaching situation $295. And that works particularly well if your members aren't all inside of a single organization, but are members of the general public. So then you say, all right, I'm going to provide a session every week, and people can drop in on it. I need to get 28 active group coaching members at $295 to do that. Now you don't have to do a lot of sessions. You could be doing one coaching session a week that you are inviting all of those people to that are paying you that $295, and that's what it would take for you to have that. And by the way, if it's an active group coaching member, that 295 may be something they're willing to pay month after month. And so you guys could build a rather substantial practice just by having this, the math run the way that I've just described it here. So 28 active group coaching members at 295, that's going to put you in the general vicinity of 100 grand as well. For those of you that are trainers, if you did one full day training program per week, just one, for $2,000, you've made 100 grand. As a trainer, I can tell you that one full day program a week is not a huge task to find. And $2,000 for a day of your time would put you very much at the low end of the pricing spectrum. I think that today's trainers are pricing themselves more between $3,500 and $7,500 for a day of their time, and many of them are getting $10,000 or more for that, plus expenses, plus prep time, plus materials. But it doesn't need to be that level in order to make great money. If you could just get one full day training program per week at $2,000, that would do it. And by the way, if you did two-day programs over the course of the month, the math still works out the same way. In fact, cut it in half. Do 2 half-day training programs per week at $1,000 per half-day program. And again, you're going to be at the lower end of the pricing structure. I mean, that only, let's say a half-day program is 4 contact hours. It's actually closer to 3, maybe 3.5. So you're making $250, $300 an hour. But if you did 2 half-day training programs per week, that would be $1,000. Those of you that are consultants, if you were doing 10 hours of consulting per week at $200, the same math works out. How about you guys that are doing something more for the public? And we have several of our certified professionals that are in this category. They don't do anything for individuals, and they don't do anything for organizational clients. They offer their programs to the general public, trying to fill a room. If they can get 10 students enrolled each month in a multi-session training program at $795 for that whatever that program happens to be. I'm not saying that's going to be 2 days, 3 days, whatever. But if I can get 10 students to give me $795 over the course of that for coming to my multi-session program that month, I'm making myself the 100K. If I'm going to do a single one-day program for $99, and there's a lot of companies out there that have become filthy rich just by doing these $89, $99 seminars, and you come into a big conference room, several hundred people sitting there. There you get $99. The math works out. Now, mind you, and in all fairness, you have to get that room, and there's all kinds of marketing costs involved. But as far as getting that 100K mark goes there, you could do that for $99. Or 2 keynote addresses each month at $4,200, and now the speakers have got the 100K they're really looking for. And again, $4,200 for a quality keynote speaker. That's at the lower end of moderate for pricing their time. So I'm kind of curious. Have you guys noticed any one of these bullet line items that kind of gets close to what you think your business model is? So are you trying to build your practice by getting those coaching sessions, or by getting those training days, or by getting people enrolled in something more towards the public? What are you really doing right now? So, because you can't, dabble. If you're jumping around and doing bits and pieces of this, I don't know that you're going to be anywhere near as effective as making a choice and making it happen. Every one of these bulleted items is doable. None of them is grandiose, but each one of them will require full-time energy, I think, in order to get them to happen reliably, not just once, but month after month after month after month. So kind of curious to know which ones sessions you guys are choosing as your personal business model. So kind of weigh in. How many of you are trying to get those coaching sessions? Who among you is trying to get these training days? Who among you is trying to get the consulting hours or the people enrolled in these more public programs? Okay, yeah, lots of coaches. Yeah, full day trainings. Yeah. So some of you are doing the coaching, some doing full training. And so just focus on that and say, if I want to make X amount of dollars, and Christine, you're in London, so you'll need to switch it over to pounds, but same thing. I'm sure these numbers are still going to hold true. And so this is what you want to focus on. And then notice everything else that you could be doing is a distraction. For example, I would say to you that if your goal is to get that one full day training program per week at 2,000, and then you decide, oh, maybe you'll do something for the public and charge people $99, the amount of energy it's going to take to find those 85 students will stop you from getting those 4 full day training programs done. And getting those 4 full day trainings set up could very well stop you from being able to get that. So if you try to do them both, you might achieve neither, and might not even add up to the money you're really looking for. Let's see, getting come here. Full day and multi sessions with multiple trainers. Okay, very good. Very good. Because now you're thoroughly leveraging something too. So that now, Len, we're talking about dipping our toe into the residual business side of things as well. Because if we can send that trainer out to cover a project, and obviously we're paying them less than we were charging the client, because that's the way a business operates. I think that you're absolutely right. Now, if we ranked the 4 disciplines for their leverageable opportunities, trainers are going to end up at the top only for one reason, and that is training always involves a program. Programs can always be formalized, and a formalized program can always be turned into a train-the-trainer program that then involves some sort of licensing sorts of fees. And so that's the reason why that one's right on top there. Also, as a trainer, if I have a good product or a good program that the client has an ongoing need for, well, now I'm really getting all that repeat business. So I've had many clients who have used me for 50 programs, 100 of this exact same program. And so there's a lot of leveraging opportunities in training. Um, Speaking can be leveraged mostly because it can be converted into product. So those speaking engagements can be recorded and then turned into some sort of audio or video sort of program that can be sold. Coaching is a little bit difficult to leverage, if for no other reason than it's a very private sort of a thing. And so the coaching methodology you use may be something that is consistently applied as you work with your various clients, but it's not really something you can just go in and give the exact same coaching session to client after client after client. It's always going to be different. So we've got a little bit of a challenge with the leverageability on the coaching side of things. But I do think consulting is the most difficult to leverage, mostly because it is so project oriented. So they bring you in, do this project. The project is almost always unique to that client. You might have even had to sign all sorts of non-disclosure sorts of things even to be working there. And so I've even had consulting clients over the years that would not allow me to even list them on a client list. So one of the largest clients that I've worked with over the years operates theme parks in several places like Orlando, Florida, and Anaheim, California. But they have a very strict rule, and that is that in order to protect the magic, their name cannot be used on a client list. So that they want the feeling to be that everything is coming from from inside that organization. Y'all know who they are. So okay, anyway, so let's talk a little bit about several ways that you can enhance leverage. Now, certainly, pardon me, one moment. I'm in Austin, Texas, and the weather is very different than it was in Charlotte last week, and something is really messing up the allergies here. So there's several different aspects of your business we can look at for leveraging opportunities. So client relationships we'll get into in a bit of detail in just a second, but I can also leverage content. I can leverage services, my performances. I can leverage space. I can leverage my marketing, technology, other relationships, even your stuff. And so I'd like to spend just a couple of minutes in the time we have left today talking about each of these possible areas. But let's start with this ways of leveraging a client relationship. And again, as we go through this, do a little bit of a inventory of your own business and ask yourself, am I doing that? Does my client offer that kind of a leveraging opportunity for me? So remember last week we were talking about, is your client population by default or by design? And if you've got a client population that's very much by design, maybe one of those design requirements should be that they will be leverageable. So if you have the choice between working with a client on a non-leverageable opportunity or a different client on a leverageable opportunity, but you can only pick one, I would hope you would favor the leverageable opportunity, even though the non-leveraged one might represent more money in the moment. If it's not something you can leverage, then I would suggest to you that the money you could make um, off of the ongoing use of whatever that product or service may be would be the better choice to be making. Let's just talk about some of the different ways you can leverage a client relationship. This list is by no means exhaustive, but here's just a few ways you could do that. If the client uses a program you have already authored and presented to others, then you can consider that to be a leveraged client. And again, those of you that don't really do training programs, it's the same thing. But the whole point here is that it doesn't require you to change the essence of what it is that you're doing or how you're doing it. You can basically show up, deliver the service, and leave with no prep time required, no follow up time required. So if you've got a service that falls into that category, then that's great too. The client uses your program or service that you have already authored and have already presented to others. So you're just out there doing it one more time. If the client has an ongoing need for the same program or for the same services, you can consider that to be pretty leveraged as well. If the client has an ongoing need for related programs or related services, and I'll give you a little story about how this happens. As a trainer, usually a client is contacting me because they think they need program A. And I very quickly have to size up. Is that just their thought? Is that just their little knock at the door? Or have they already made this decision and they're really not up for debating it? The most important thing to me when I begin a new client is that I get started with them. And so even though I may disagree with their strategy, or I may have felt they needed to do a better job of needs assessment up front, or I'm not entirely convinced that the program they have in mind or the population they have in mind is necessarily correct, I'm really there to be of service. And I recognize that until I'm inside the organization, I may not have the opportunity to learn everything I need to know to be even making such judgments. And so if I can't have the time up front to be able to do a thorough job of the analysis part, then let me just say, yes, I can do that program. Yep, I'm available that day, and let life go on. So but once I get there, I almost always discover that the training program and the population they chose are not the program nor the population that they really needed. And so I say, you let's do this related program instead. Or I know you want something done with your sales representatives, but everything points to a problem with the sales managers. And so we need to do something with them as well. So that then pulls in the opportunity for related programs or related services. And again, on the service side of things, coaching is certainly a big part of that. So maybe they bring you in to do a little bit of executive coaching with one of their key players, and that turns out so well that they go like, "Oh, it's too bad you don't do anything other than executive training, or rather executive coaching." You might say to them, "Wait, wait, 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 wait! No, I also have group coaching products for teams, and I have this coaching product and all that. So the thrust of my business may be the executive coaching, but I'm available for related things as well." And so the key here is that there's an ongoing need for it. If you can find one of those clients and let things grow inside of it, you've got a well leveraged client. Um, Getting back on the training side of things, if the client will allow you to record the program, whether it's audio recording, video recording, doesn't really matter. Will they allow you to record the program so that you can use it for other purposes? Now, you might even say to them, well, they can record the program. Even if they want to use it only for themselves, I could still charge them a fee for that, because I would hate to think that a recording is going to replace me and rob me of an opportunity to be able to deliver the program again later on. You can also consider it to be leveraged if you can turn that program or service into a product. So if a client asks me to come in and do a program, well, throw another on root cause analysis for human performance problems. Well, yeah, I created the program for one specific client, and I, blended all of my tension management principles and concepts into it so that it really is a unique program and very much unique to the institute. So, but what I asked, as I was doing, I said, I don't do works for hire. I don't do things that once I create this, that you're the only one who can use it. If that's the deal, then count me out. But they said, oh no, 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 no. As long as you make sure that our identity is protected and all that, you're not sharing whatever our stories may be. It's like, no, I got no problem at all. I'm just interested in the core of the program. They said, oh no, by all means. And so here I am now, again, 32 years into this line of work. And for the past 2, 3 years, I've been doing a program on this whole root cause analysis sort of a thing. And quite honestly, it's a great program, but I don't have any energy around turning into something to mobilize to the masses. So I share it with the members of the community on some of our ongoing professional development calls. But, I could turn it into a product if I wanted to. I certainly have their permission, so I could do that. So leveraged, even though I don't feel quite compelled to do the leveraging. Or another thing you could do is if the client will let you list them on your client list, and don't assume that the answer is always yes. There are certain client contracts that I've seen that actually prevent you from doing that. Actually, consider that to be a breach of corporate privacy, and they get into all kinds of trouble. And there's no real reason to do that. So I always want to know up front: will you allow me to list you on my client list? And this also comes up very frequently if they say, could I have the names of a few of your existing clients so that we can contact them for some sort of endorsement or some sort of reference? And I said, yes, as long as if you become a client, I can call upon you to do the same thing at some point in the future. So if you have to have them in order to choose me, but are prevented by corporate policy from serving as a reference for me down the road, then I don't want to play. And so I'll move on. And I have. So if they'll let me list them on the client list, great. A few other here. Will they let me put them in as a case study? And I don't need to name the client, and I don't need to give the real specifics. I'm not trying to do that. It'd be nice if I could, but that's not necessary in order to turn something into a case study. Will they allow me to list them as a case study? This is also something that applies not only to the trainers among you, but to the coaches as well. You could certainly go into an organization who has not used coaching formally in the past, put together some baseline performance metrics or whatever kind of a survey you want to do to establish a starting point. Do your work with them and then reassess to see what kind of progress they've made, and whether it's quantitative or qualitative or a combination, it doesn't matter. Can you show that there was some sort of positive impact on these people as a result of whatever the product or service you happen to be providing? If you can do that, well, you're looking at a great case study opportunity, and that can be a very valuable thing to you moving forward. So, will they let you list them and use them as a case study? Will they write you a testimonial? We'll get into testimonials later on in Building a Career That Matters. But when I say writing a testimonial, I mean actually sit down for a few minutes and write out their personal thoughts about what it is that we've done together and what difference it made, and with their support, all those kinds of things. Now, I have had countless clients who said, "Oh, I'd be happy to write you a testimonial," but they never get around to it. And I know their heart's in the right place. They didn't promise me something for no reason. They fully intended to do it, but life went on and their attention changed. And so they ended up paying attention to where their attention was. And my little testimonial fell down their list of priorities. So that's a situation that can cause a real problem. And the other thing that happens is that the client writes something for you and you read, you go like, oh, this is not at all what I wanted them to say. It's all nice, thank you, but it's not impactful. It's not whatever. And so when we talk about getting testimonials, I often say, have a conversation with your client about their experience working with you and their feedback and all that, and then say to them, I would love to be able to share that with others. Would you be open to me writing up what I've just heard you say and then I'll send it over to you for your approval or polish, and then use that. And they invariably go like, oh yeah, feel free, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so then I can, take what it is that they said and put it into something that's actually, readable, usable English, and then see if they will agree to it. Almost always, they've accepted it word for word as I wrote it. Once in a while, they'll change a little thing here or there. They go like, "Oh, you forgot this." I'm a very big one for getting testimonials, but I think we need to do something to take the burden off of their shoulders. Again, it's a tension management thing, and if you guys don't understand the principles of tension management, make sure you enroll in the ChangeWorks Essentials program, or at least in Mastering Personal Change. That starts in March. You'll see the listing for that in the blog too as it gets closer. Okay, if the client will talk to new prospects on your behalf, and again, this means I can say, I would like to give a prospect your phone number. I'll always give you a call, heads up, so I know that when you're available and all that, but are you willing to actually serve as someone who would actually speak on my behalf if the situation arrives? Um, Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they go like, oh, I'm not allowed to do that. Okay, can they give me a referral to that person, not just their name and their phone number, but an actual physical recommendation? So whether that's going to take the form of an email, a note, a posting, whatever, can they do something that is actual a physical recommendation? And then the last one, which I don't know really qualifies that strongly as leverage, but will they introduce me to a new prospect? And I guess what I mean by introduce is actually get all of us on the phone or face to face and actually make the introduction. Later on in your training, we're going to be talking about the power of edification. It is a technique for introducing others and for being introduced that boosts the credibility of everyone involved. So there's a very specific way that we want these introductions to be structured, and anything we can do to move things toward that structure is exactly where we want to put our focus. Okay, so anyways, these are some of the ways that we can leverage a client relationship. In the time we have left, let me just talk about some of the other ways that you can enhance the leverageability of your business. So we talked earlier about leveraging your content. So whatever that program, product, service happens to be, can you use that intact with other clients? If you can, you are leveraging content. So you really want to say, if I'm going to put the time and energy into creating a particular program, or I'm creating a particular, say you're in a consulting project and you're putting together kind of like an attack plan to deal with a particular issue that's happening with an organization. For example, if you find out that the customer has done a great job in a certain market segment historically, but is currently doing poorly in that market segment because something specific changed in that market segment, well, then maybe you've got a program that you could take to other companies that are also dealing with the same market segment. So if you're going to put all the time and energy into creating it, you might as well begin with the intention being that you would be able to take this to other clients as well. So leverage the content of that. Similarly, you can leverage the services in the same sort of way. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're in there doing individual coaching, how come you're not doing group coaching as well? Or if you're doing group coaching for an organizational client, how come you can't say, hey, I've got all this experience delivering group coaching inside of the following industries. So, hey, industry as a whole, if any of you as individuals would like to come and enroll in my public offering of my group coaching around this particular, issue, whatever, please do that. And so now you're basically leveraging your service in a way that kind of focuses on a particular population, even though that population may be spread out among lots and lots of different little companies. Okay, leveraging your performances. I mentioned this just a few moments ago. You're leveraging your performances if you always audio tape or videotape everything you do. You can tell how I just the word tape. So audio or video record whatever it is you happen to be doing. I mean, you guys should be recording everything, even if you don't have any immediate need for it. You never can tell when you will. I have made a routine practice of recording absolutely everything I could for years and years and years. Oops, what just happened there? I lost my page. Da, 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 there we go. And I would say, and Stephen can chime in if he thinks I'm exaggerating, but I would say that I have, wow, how about between 5 and 6 thousand hours of material recorded, and we get a lot of it transcribed. So a lot of it exists not only as videos or audios, but as full transcriptions. So I'm collecting it all for no real reason other than to collect it. And who knows, maybe at some point in the future, someone's going to go, let's look at this whole body of stuff that tension management was really all about, and let's dig through all of it and extract books galore and all that. So I know it's a gold mine, but quite candidly, I'm busy enough as it is without attacking that pile. Nevertheless, the collection continues to grow. So do likewise. If you got the opportunity to record it, and who knows if you'll do that. Even those of you that are doing coaching, I know that when I'm coaching with a client, I always say to them, would you like this to be recorded for your own reference? And they often say yes. You have to decide if you're going to charge them an additional fee for having your sessions recorded, or if you're going to do it as a value added sort of a service to protect the premium price that you're charging. That's really up to you. But you are doing something. It does involve a little bit of work, not much, but there's downloading that has to be done and uploading. And so, I mean, there is some busy work that has to be done. And cataloging it is no easy feat, let me tell you that. There's definitely work to be done, but you could certainly do that. But I think another reason why it's good to record things is because, and I imagine all of you have had this experience, that you're talking to someone and you're just spontaneously, channeling the wisdom of the universe, and your mouth just says something, and it is so perfect that you just go like, oh, I wish I'd written that down. Well, if you record it, at least you can go back and capture it. It's terrible for these, moments of, just genius being lost to the atmosphere. So recorded just for that purpose as well. Okay. When it comes to leveraging the performances, though, this also has to do with making sure that people know where you are and what you're doing. Early in my career, when I was out there traveling on the speaking circuit, I would be in at least two, maybe three different cities every single week. And back then, there was a children's program called "Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?" And I decided, well, where in the world is T? And so it was interesting how I would just list, this is where I am, this is the city I'm in, this is the country that I'm in, this is the program that I'm doing, this is the, whatever that presentation was all about. I would just kind of list them. And it was amazing how many of my followers would then say to me, oh, you're going to be in such and such a town that's close to me, maybe I can bring some people to check it out, so can I use this as a way to use these performances as a way to bring more notice to what I'm doing? Can I use it as an opportunity to let others get a glimpse into what I'm doing in the hopes that it leads them to engage services, etc.? So there's lots of ways that you can leverage a performance as well. Leveraging space is a very interesting one. Out on the speaking circuit, a great many of the programs that we're asked to do are programs that are open to the general public. And so in that particular setting, there's a promoter of some sort who is putting on an event. In fact, the one I'm thinking of right now is up in the Metro Detroit area, and his name's Michael Jeffries, and his organization is called Yes Midwest. And Yes is an organization that now for years, at least 20 years, has brought in a brand name speaker every single month, and he puts together an audience of 500 to 2,000 people. They're paying an annual membership fee to come to this thing. And so he brings you in, and of course, he's got all the back of the room sales from products and all kinds. He records it and sells it as seminars on DVD or whatever to people who are not in the Metro Detroit area. So he definitely understands this whole concept of leveraging. Well, one of the things that I told him early on, and I've known him for well, he was my best man. That should tell you how well how well I got to know Michael. But I said, Michael, every event that you do, you end up with a great audience, and so that's an amazing thing. But I'm going to say to you that 24 hours before your engagement occurs, you should release all open seats to people who otherwise would have no opportunity to attend your program. So it's not just free for anyone who didn't feel like paying. It's free to people who can't pay. So I said, go to the local business colleges and say to the faculty members that every month you're doing this, and all of their students are welcome to attend the program free of charge. Or go to the nonprofit organizations in the Metro Detroit area and say to them that one of your ways of donating services to them is to invite them to bring their teams to your events. And so get those seats filled with people who otherwise would never become a member of your organization. And you're doing something to build the audience, which always helps the speaker because you need the energy of an audience. I mean, don't give me a room that seats 1,000 people and put 200 in it. That's going to suck all the energy because the speaker has to fill that space. And so if the audience isn't filling the space with the energy, then the burden is placed on the speaker to fill all that volume. So it helps the speaker. It certainly helps the people that are attending the program. And who knows, maybe they'll stop by your product table and buy something. Who knows? And again, they're all married to people, related to people. They know other people. Maybe they'll spread the news about your organization, and that'll help you get some members you otherwise wouldn't, paying members that you otherwise would not have had. So you can always leverage space. Now, we live at a time where we've got conference calling capabilities. Like right now, here we are on this call. Our calls have a few dozen people that are on them, but my line, I can have 1,001 people on this call, and it doesn't cost me any more than just having the few dozen that we normally have on a specific call. So why not? Why not leverage it and just say, hey, this is something that I'm doing, and I want to open it, nice and wide. If you can come and do that. So you have to be really careful though about, you don't want to give away what you are giving to people who have paid you for something, because that obviously diminishes the value and puts a big question mark about your own credibility or whatever. But you can certainly do that. Okay, wait, we only have a few minutes left. Let me see if I can talk about the rest of these things. Leveraging the marketing, yeah. Certain types of marketing that you do are far more leverageable than others, as we've talked about before, and we'll talk about in greater and greater detail as this course continues. Marketing takes a tremendous amount of energy, resources, time, money, whatever it may be, the energy being the biggest one. And so if you can identify just a few marketing strategies that will help you to market a full range of products and programs and services, that's a better marketing strategy than using one marketing campaign that's there to market one single product. So you can certainly work towards leveraging your marketing. And obviously, anything web based is going to lend itself very easily to that. More and more, we're getting away from killing trees and ink plants, printing things up and putting postage stamps on it. So, things are getting a little bit easier on that side of things. Um, we will talk about leveraging other relationships when we talk about referral gathering, networking, and getting testimonials. And so later on in this course, we're going to start a series from the program I did, building a lifetime of leads, 9 methods for building your business without making cold calls. And when we get into that, we're going to be talking about all the different ways that you can leverage your existing relationships to bring you more business. And so I will get into this in more detail, but leveraging these relationships, it is all about the testimonials, the referrals, the networking opportunities, those sorts of things. But the last one I want to talk about, and we just have 2 minutes, is about leveraging your stuff and using it as a form of barter. Um, Now, there are certainly formal bartering organizations available in many large cities, and if you happen to be in one of those cities that has a business bartering kind of a club, then you should certainly look into that and see if it makes sense for you to become part of that. But you can leverage your content for anything you want. So, for example, I can share with you that over the course of these years, my wife Linda has bartered my training services to get us an in-ground sprinkling system, to get us dental work, to get us limousines, to get us cruises, to get us all kinds of house repairs, all kinds of toys, stuff we really didn't need, all kinds of professional services, eye care, whatever. If there is something you need, and the person that you need to get it from or could get it from is someone who may have a need for your services, why not look into bartering? So I think that a lot of times we think that the only way for us to get what we want is by generating the revenue necessary. But if you're really careful and clever about leveraging, you can make a list of all the things you need to operate your business and to operate your daily life. And you can ask yourself, who inside of my general community can provide me with those services, who is unlikely to engage my services at full price, but would be likely to engage my services at in a bartering kind of a situation. So I'll give you one example of this, and then we'll be finished. Some of you saw the posting we did around the holiday time about my Dickens Village. So Dickens Village, for those of you who don't know, is a collection of these lighted buildings produced by a company called Department 56, and they're very collectible items. There's figurines and trees and animals and whatever, and you buy this stuff over the years and you put it together, these lovely little Christmas displays. Well, I went overboard, and my Christmas display ends up being 40 feet long and 2 feet deep, and it's got 300 people and 400 trees, and it's just this absurdly involved village, and it takes so long to set it up and get it all ready. Then we only do it every couple of years, and when we do, we put it on tour. And so this year, my village was on holiday tour, and we had all kinds of coverage in the newspapers, and all kinds of people came through to be, marvel at this. Well, one of the questions they always ask is, how did you get started? What was the first piece you bought? And I didn't buy one piece. I started off with a huge village, and it worked this way. There was a high-end gift shop in our area who happened to be a vendor for Department 56 inside of their gift shop. And so they wanted to get a little bit of sales training done for their retail staff to get them geared up for the holiday season. And so I said, okay, fine. Well, what I want, though, is I want you to pay me with an in-store credit. And so I can come into your store and I can get all the Christmas presents or whatever it is that I really want. And he agreed. And because my strategy was whatever your markup is on these products, that equals the discount you're giving yourself. And as it turns out, the markup on these Department 56 items is 50% or more, depending on what volume they do. So right there, they're getting my services for half the price because it was a bartering kind of a situation. Good deal for them, good deal for me. And so I got the presents for everyone, but he kept wanting more and more and more services. So I ended up with thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I think it was almost $25,000 worth of an in-store credit. And so it's kind of like at a certain point you go like, I am running out of things to get from this place. And so the village caught my eye, and I said, I'll take one of everything. And so my very first village was the result of bartering. So I believe you can barter for just about anything. So don't neglect that. So we're finished for today. Your homework is to think about how effectively you're leveraging your business right now, and certainly start thinking about what could you be bartering for. Next week, we're going to be talking about leaving money on the table. The key question, what will clients actually pay me to do? I think you're going to be quite surprised with the full range of things they would pay you for if you would only ask.